Last time you asked a difficult question, Sharif Saab, and again you asked a very difficult question, that are parents to be blamed for that? And I said the same thing last time. If you as a parent or I as a parent have an intention to corrupt our own children and to cause them harm and become gaming addict or social media addict, then obviously we are to blame. I don't think parents should be blamed as long as they are watchful, as they are careful, and a time have come now. We're living in a time where everything is intellectual, that we have to sit down with our children and say, I want to look at your social skills, I want to look at your behavior, I want to look at your goodness towards other people, and I want to look at your school reports. I got a criteria for these 4 things. If anything is dropping down, that means you're spending too much of time there, and I as a parent have to exercise my right within the law to reduce your time. So I think it is case by case. There is no general rule for that. I believe the parents are only to be blamed if they switch on things and leave them on and don't check it. And that sometimes is a problem. It's a real problem. Because a husband has to tend to his wife, mother and father, maybe to other children also, maybe to some relatives, maybe to somebody in the community. So you cannot sort of babysit a teenager all the time. So you just do your duty and use the criteria of their social skills, of their behavior, of their knowledge, and the school reports. If anything is dropping out of these 4 things, and especially the school reports, then I think we need to exercise our right to slightly tighten the things and make agreements with the children. Any other question? Sorry, it's a little bit long, but it's a huge topic, and it has caused so much of a problem in almost every other home these days, and people are suffering from developmental disorders. Children, they got more ADHD, more ASD, more autism, more behavior problem, more panic and anxiety, and more depression, because internet games, what happened, they release dopamine, they release adrenaline, then release noradrenaline. All these chemicals are too much for children, because they are supposed to be released maybe once in a week or once in a month. If they are releasing all the time, their natural good chemicals are being consumed up by the brain so quickly, and then they feel low and depressed and bored again, and it becomes a vicious cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle of boredom. Any more questions?
I think it's a good question, though, because going back to your earlier point of youngsters like tablets in the age of 2 or 3 years old, we're noticing more with sort of couples who are quite busy, who want to do something with a child, they haven't got time, and they may give the tablet to the child. And not only that, and that child is also seeing it from his peers, maybe in nursery or whatever. So they're starting at a very much younger age.
Yeah.
How do you, I think that's how that affects the government.
Brother Khalid has, yeah, please. Very good point. In fact, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. Brother Khalid is a dear friend, and he is IT man. He's asking, we give this iPad or iPhone to 2-3-year-old children, we see very commonly, and in old time we used to have those little toys, or in olden times the toys made of the mud, and we used to give this dummy, you see, we call it chusni, isn't it? We used to give that. So now the children are using that. And what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. This is how we become addicted. So young children, when they are picking up from a very early age, they are also following their parents because they are doing the same. So this is conditioning their brain. The addictions are kind of conditioning. This is a psychological terminology, that you become conditioned in your repetitive behavior. If you repeat something again and again, again and again, again and again, you and your mind and your body and your soul, everything will get used to it. So young children, when they are picking this up, so they are actually being conditioned. And once this conditioning happens, when they will be 6, 7, or 8, they will be certainly have very high level of skills of operating internet and these machines and iPads and iPhones and laptops. However, they will suffer from, and now the new terminology is technology quotient, technology sophistication, cyber social life. So people are saying things, moving around, interacting in such a way as if they are in a real internet cyberspace with each other. So these babies, we call them cyber babies, according to Mary Aiken in her book, Cyber Mums and Cyber Babies. So their brain connections, they're not fully developed. Children are not fully cognitive human beings because for the first age, until the age of 7, they're almost in an hypnotic state. They do not have the rational, cognitive, executive thinking. They are like a huge sponge. Imagine a sponge with a beautiful face, nose and eyes, which we kiss all the time, and 2 legs. They're like a sponge. They just absorb whatever is given to them through their eyes and through their ears. They will absorb it. All good, bad, ugly, evil, or excellent, whatever you give them. So these children cannot, so that's why when we raise the question of RSE, this relationship and sexual education coming permanent, this is compulsory from September 2020. So this is something which has been raised by the academics and child psychologists and all those people who understand the children. They're saying for throwing these ideas of RSE, whether it's LGBT or whether it's a teenage pregnancy or abortion or transgenderism, they will be confused, they will be distressed. From Islamic point of view, we call that a primordial nature, primordial innocent nature, we call in Arabic fitra. So this is the fitra of a human being and a young child. If we give this child things or items which are not good for the brain development, they will certainly have a developmental problems. So we need to be very careful with the first 7 years because they're only absorbing. They're not cognitive human beings. They're like in a state of hypnosis. So once they reach age 7, then of course gradually the thinking part comes in. And we can change our style of parenting. One last question.
Should the service provider should be felt more responsible for what we have?
The service provider should be more responsible. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why I mentioned cyber ethics, better governance, better involvement of and better control, better laws about internet, because right now there are very minimal laws and very few people are prosecuted. There was an American congressman, Mr. Weiner, he was prosecuted because he posted naked pictures of his own self. He was prosecuted. There was one rabbi a few years ago, he was he was a voyeurist. He hid the camera and the Jewish women were coming and they were just taking some ritual bath and he was taking the photograph. He was jailed for 6 years. He was caught. There's a story which is all over the internet a few years ago. There's a female who was playing a game, a Farmville. Shall we sue that game? In the UK we have that you can create your own farm and your own animals, you can adopt them. And she was playing that game and a young child was crying and she was so involved in that game, she picked up the child, shook the child and threw, and it fell on the laptop and it broke the skull and the leg and died. And she then said, oh, the dog basically threw the child. And the police very quickly found that she is the murderer. She admitted, but she was playing the game at that time. So those people who make these games, the addictive games, so then she had a 50 years of a sentence for second-degree murder. He'll spend all her life in the prison. So these internet providers and these the websites, they should have some law. They should be responsible. All what they're interested is an absolute, pathological obsession of data collection, data collection. Yes?
Just one last point. You can already take action at home by setting on your routers. There's lots of things you can do that can actually limit what can be downloaded onto your content. And a lot of people don't actually use that. You should look at something you can do already today.
Would then IT people one day come, sort of, Khalid Saab and Nasir Saab and Nayyir Saab and anybody else, Fahim, and do one session and a workshop upstairs or downstairs, so people bring their laptops and say, look, we are struggling, we do not know what to do. And it's true.
I mean, I haven't got into that myself, but that triggered it for me that you can actually do that already.
Yeah.
Yourself. It's not going to stop the addiction. It can at least limit the content.
So please let me know. I will sort of, track down my younger brothers. They're all my younger brothers. I've named them. जी हाँ जी.
Jazakallah khair for your lecture on this important thing. I know you mentioned about a lot of the nasty part of the internet.
I also mentioned good ones also. There are a lot of good ones also.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what about this side? You haven't gone into any such sort of details about the knowledge, about the goodness,
No, I mentioned the knowledge source. I did mention earlier on. Business side, knowledge side, social media side, then gaming side, then the fifth dimension was this, the dark web, and the sixth one, the government website. I think I didn't mention, there's no doubt about that. I think we should be grateful for that. The internet has revolutionized the way we think, way we speak and breathe. No doubt about that. I think it's the biggest library on planet Earth ever one can imagine or ever will imagine. I did mention that. I think you might have a little bit a moment of lack of concentration. No doubt, there are a lot of benefits with that. But we, obviously, I think, must be careful not to do any gossiping and backbiting and not pass on unverified information. That's the key message. Shall we close it? Okay, I think in future what we'll do is when we finish the first part, I should be doing the dua like I did the first part, and then the second part will be separate. I think if it goes on the website, it should be as a second part, question and answer session. Then we only do dua once, but I think we can do sort of quickly and ask Allah, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wassalamu Rasul al-Kareem. Ya Rabbil Alameen, whatever has been said or studied, or to be trying to understand, if there any mistake from my part, I am guilty and I ask your forgiveness. If anything good and right and fair and just has been said, which is beneficial to people all around and here, Ya Rabbal Alameen, enable them to understand and that good thing, and so they can internalize and they can act on it and guide our children to the right path. Ya Rabbal Alameen, if there are any children belonging to any Muslim family or even non-Muslim families, Ya Rabbal Alameen, you guide them. If they got a gaming addiction or related disorders of psychology, disorders of social health and disorders of emotionality or mental health problems, Ya Rabbal Alameen, you give them shifa, you give them cure, you guide them and protect us from all these evil all happening all around us. And we also pray for those people who make these resources of knowledge for available free for the whole world. We must pray for them, Ya Allah, also guide them and also reward them as ever, whichever way you wish. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa rahmatuka ya arhamar rahimin. So see you next Friday inshallah, same time.